So from this packet, it's asking what is m, what is b. So m is the slope. But m has other names. M has the change in y over the change in x. Sometimes they call it rise over run. There's just different versions of what the slope could be referred to as. The slope equation is actually this. So I'm just kind of trying to do an overview of some things that the slope could be. Is this okay so far? Good on that board. And then we want to get into what b is all about. B is the y-intercept. B takes place when you have 0, comma, some number. So when your x value is 0, the number is b. Okay? So is there anything about any of those words, bless you, anything about any of those words that I could help you out? Bless you again. Help you out with any vocabulary or anything like that? Back here for you. Need one? Okay. Yeah. All right. So then we have this other equation down here. I'm going to put little scripts. We're going to put x1, y1 down there. So we're going to say that slope is the same as above. So it could be m is slope, m is the change in y over the change in x, and slope is rise over run, slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And then the point is x1, comma, y1. Okay? So we're going to focus on this a little bit. Now I'm going to tell you that this equation sometimes looks like this as well. And really all I did to make this top equation different than this is I added y1 to both sides just to bring it over to the right side so you only have a singleton y. Anything about what I've just talked about? Plus, it's nice to see you guys. I hope you had a nice break. Some of you a week from today, like last week, might have still been sleeping. Yeah? Makes normal. Okay, so you have everything I need written? Everyone's good? So I kind of gave you a lot of information, but I just wanted to, it's stuff that we've played with, maybe seen it in a different class, but we're just kind of jumping along with it. Okay. So now the second slide says find the slope of these points. So the slope, remember, the slope is m. Agree? So if I want to find the slope of these points, I could plot these points on an xy axis, and I could count up and right or down and right. Or I could try and use the equation. Now, if you recall from the previous page, in the top right of that page, I had this equation. Agree? So if I wanted to find the slope between these two different points, I have 3, 6 and 2, -7. So I'm going to call it just in order, x1, y1, x2, y2. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I'm not going to go through the math. If you had labeled this x2, y2 and this x1, y1, your answer is going to be the same. Okay? I'm not going to worry about going through it and be like, oh, yeah, that's cool, whatever, math dude. Okay? But if you just label on the left x1, y1, on the right x2, y2, then just plug them in to your equation. So I have y2 minus y1, okay? y2, y1, just plug them in. Notice I kept that as a -7. Notice I had a subtraction sign there. And then I'm going to go x2 minus x1. And then just simplify it. I buy something that costs $7. I buy something that costs $6. So I'm going to owe $13. And then 2 minus 3 is negative 1. And a negative over negative is a positive. So I could say the slope is 13 over 1, or I could just say the slope is 13. Okay? 13 over 1 and 13 are the exact same thing. There's no difference between them. Yes, I understand there's going to be some math teacher out there who's going to be like all high strung. They're going to go crazy that you wrote something over 1. You're like, no, just put the whole number. You're like, dude, chill. Stirrup was chill about it. You should do too. All right. Hey, have you seen this before? Fist to 5, have you seen this before? Whether you understood it or not, have you seen this before? Fist to 5, fist to 5. Fives? Okay, cool, cool. All right. Are we ready for the third slide? So the back side. You good? So this next one says, hey, what's special about if you have 0 in for an x value? Okay? If you have 0 in for an x value, this is kind of special when it looks like this. And I have to sit down because I can't write standing up as neatly as I'd like to write. Benito, tell me to move if I'm in your way. Can you see okay? Cool. All right, ready? Eyes to the board real quick. Okay. I'm not an English teacher, so I want to make sure this makes sense. I have an arrow pointing to the 0, and it said if 0 is in X spot for one of the points. Does that make sense so far? I'm not done. I only have a fragment of a sentence there. If 0 is in X spot for one of the points, does that make sense? Does one of my points have a 0 in an X spot? The other point has a negative 2 in the X spot, agree? But if 0 is in the X spot, then y-intercept, which is sometimes called b, so these are mean the same thing, is the y value. So b equals 5. Okay? So if 0 is in the X spot for one of the points, then the y-intercept, which is sometimes referred to as b, is the y value. So b equals 5. So y-intercept b is the y value. Okay? So that's where this 5 comes from. Because I added 0 here, this means this has to be the y-intercept. This negative 2 does not mean that's the y-intercept. I have to have a 0 in that first spot. If I have a 0 in that first spot, then I have the y-intercept. So now, we can do a few things. Let's change some color. Let's find the slope. Okay, that's the slope equation, agree? Come to your point, label it x1, y1, x2, y2. And then start to figure it out. I get 3 minus 5, negative 2 minus 0. You have $3 in your pocket. You want to buy something that costs $5, so you still owe $2. And then negative 2 minus 0 is negative 2. What's negative 2 over negative 2 reduced to? Negative over negative is positive. 2 over 2 is 1. So I have a slope of 1. Okay? So now I'm going to use So y equals mx plus b is called the slope-intercept form. So what did I find the slope to be just now in orange? Yeah.
Wait, you always minus y2 first?
Yeah. So but again, I could have flipped this over. I could have had this x2, y2, x1, y1, and it's still going to get the exact same answer. Okay, it's just you're flip-flopping it. What would happen if I flipped it over? It would have been 2 over 2. 2 over 2 is 1, so it still would work out. Okay. So what did I say that the slope was equal to? What did I say the slope was equal to? 1. What did I say the y-intercept is equal to? What did I say the y-intercept is equal to? 5. So I know the slope. I know the y-intercept. Agree? So if I plug into this equation, y equals 1x plus 5. That's my equation. This is the linear equation that would involve these 2 points. Okay? So a few things to recognize in this type of situation. This gave me the y-intercept because I had a 0 in the spot. I was able to label it x1, y1, x2, y2, find the slope, which in this case turned out to be 1. So then I found what my m value is equal to and my b value is equal to. My b value because I knew over there, and then you plug it directly in. Yes or no? So the big thing that was special here is that 0 right there points right away to the y-intercept. Okay. Let's look at this on the bottom of the backside. My very first question I want to ask you. Do I know what the y-intercept is equal to at this point? Yes or no? Do I know what the y-intercept is? Why not? You're absolutely right. What am I missing? You know this, Sean. Come on. Hang on. Ready? I'm going to go back. This was the y-intercept because that was 0. What am I missing? 0 in what spot? You're totally right. In the x. I don't have a 0 in the x spot. Everyone agree? So I don't know what the y-intercept is at this point. Is that okay to say that? Okay? So I don't know. So I'm going to just put a little note. I'm going to put a little note. We don't know y-intercept because I don't have 0, comma, a number. I'm trying to make that simplistic. Does that seem okay? So if I don't know the y-intercept, well, there's got to be another way we want to start with this problem. Well, I'm going to label this x1, y1. Label this x2, y2. And I'm going to go and try and find the slope. I don't know if it's going to help us, but it's at least a starting point for us. So y2, I said, was 4. y1 is negative 6. Notice I have a negative negative. What's that negative negative going to turn into? We'll come back to it. Then I get 8 minus minus 2. So friends, I want you to take a look at this. I have a negative negative there and a negative negative there. What does the negative negative do? Positive. Very good. So this becomes positive. This becomes positive. So 4 plus 6 is 10. 8 plus 2 is also 10. And just coincidentally, I have a slope of 1. Just like the last problem. It's not that every slope is 1. It's just I made these up, so it happened to be that way. Okay. I'm going to put this. can't use y equals mx plus b because I don't know what the b value is. Okay? So on our first slide, I believe it was, yep, we're going to take a look at this equation right here. Okay? So I'm going to go y equals mx minus x1 plus y1. All right? Let me ask you this, friends. Do I have anything up there labeled x1, y1? Do I have anything up there labeled x1, y1? And the answer is yes. So I'm going to do this problem two ways, and there's two answers that are 100% correct. So if I call this that, and I call this one that, if I do the pink over here, ready? I'm going to get y equals, what did I say the slope was? It's red. 1, parentheses, x. What did I call x1? Look at the point. Negative 2. So minus minus 2, that's plus 2. Agree? Because it was minus minus. What did I call y1?
Negative 6.
Okay. That's our equation. Now, the person sitting next to you labeled backwards. So I'll do it over here. Okay? So the person, let's pretend that someone labeled this x1, y1 over here. So I'm going to get y equals, slope is x minus 8 plus 4. Okay. Now here's kind of the silly thing in math. Because you've been told in math for a long time, there's one correct answer. This answer is 100% correct. This answer is also 100% correct. Okay? Like if I went and I distributed the 1 over the parentheses and I got combined like terms, I'm going to get the exact same answer on both of these. Right now, they look like two very different problems. If I graph these, they're going to be the exact same line. It's going to be a line on top of itself, so the exact same line. So if you label this, you label this x2, y2, x1, y1, and the rest of the class did x1, y1, x2, y2, there's two different answers that could totally work. So this is called the point-slope equation. It works with this. You might have a different answer than your neighbor, not because either of you did it wrong. It's just your neighbor might have labeled x1, y1 as the first spot, and you might have labeled x1, y1 in the second spot. All right. Yeah. That's all I have left. Can you hold it? Like 2 minutes. Is that cool? Yeah.
Do you have to solve the equation after you write it?
No, you could just leave it just like that. Like, we will get to a point where we'll probably solve that a little bit further. But as far as right now, like today goes, giddy up. All right, ready? All right. So, if you know B, we said it was 0B. So this y value plugs right in there. And then you can find the slope. Sometimes they might say m equals 7, b equals 2. So if m equals 7, or negative 7, b equals 2, there's my equation. This fell right in here. This fell right here. Sometimes they might say, hey, the slope is 8 and the y-intercept is 3. Well, if the slope is 8, that means m equals 8. Y-intercept is 3. That's b equals 3. Just plug them directly into this equation. So you get y equals 8x plus 3. And there's our equation. So these are two different problems that are done two different ways. Okay? So, my friends, what I would like you to get a start on, if you don't mind. Okay. I'm going to see if I can get this right. This is in the Creek Skills So that's the red book. It'll say day 13, which is page 4748. Okay? If you need this page, let me know, and I'll have